Hello and welcome to the WHID TV studios and Accelerated You. I am Dr. Gina Messer-No and I'm so happy to have you here this afternoon with me. Remember, our goal here at Accelerate You is to provide you with low cost and often free resources to accelerate you. Today, I am so excited about our guest. She's phoning in today, and it is Jamie Valvano. That's right, the daughter of Coach V. Jamie, how are you?
I'm wonderful. Thank you so much for having me.
I am so excited to have you on the phone today. Jamie, you are going to be at a women's conference here in Rocky Mount on March 30th. It is sponsored by the Rocky Mount Area Chamber of Commerce, and it'll take place at the Rocky Mount Event Center. Tell us a little bit about your role at the conference.
Well, I am actually honored to be one of the keynote speakers, and when I was contacted and heard about this amazing event right here in my backyard, I certainly wanted to be a part of it for many reasons, just to encourage women in whatever journey they are, wherever they are in their leadership development. But also, when I heard about all the stories of the individuals that were going to be presenting, I wanted to learn those lessons for myself. I was so inspired to hear about these amazing women that are doing extraordinary work in their community and in the world. And so we're really just kind of offering insight. I know the theme is insight, influence, and impact. And so that's really what I think all of the presentations are going to be about. And I certainly hope that I can follow up. And I think I'm the last speaker before we do our kind of closing panel. So I'm really excited to interact with all of the attendees, as well as just learn about what's happening in our community.
Yeah, it is going to be a phenomenal lineup. This is the 5th year that the Rocky Mount Area Chamber of Commerce has sponsored the Women's Leadership Conference, and it truly is a leadership conference. Of course, we do have a lot of business built into it, but it really is to be impactful and powerful for women. However, it is not just a female thing. We do have men that will be attending the conference as well, and of course, they are welcome. And it will go from 8 to 1, and then from 1 to 3, we have a networking session, which is free for those folks who purchased a ticket. I'm not sure if tickets are still available. I think we have a wait list, but you can contact the chamber and they can tell you a little bit more about ticket status. Jamie, I've already told you this. I hate to introduce you as Jimmy Valvano's daughter because you are a powerhouse in your own right. But you told me you were very honored with that title. Tell me a little bit about being Jimmy V's daughter.
Well, gosh, it's March Madness. I mean, we have to talk about basketball in this area, but and celebrate. We're all doing our brackets and getting excited for basketball. But I am so honored because this community and the people of North Carolina have been just so amazing to my family. We moved here in 1980 when my dad took the head men's basketball coaching job at NC State, and everybody, all my relatives, all my family, we grew up in New York, so I certainly didn't even know anything existed outside of that area. And then we moved here, and we were immediately embraced by the community here. The people were so warm and loving. And then I kind of got this harsh introduction to ACC basketball because that is a religion all of its own. So many of the listeners are, cheering on their teams right now after we've just, crowned our ACC champs. I just wasn't prepared for basketball in this area and how amazing heritage and the history is. And so, again, I just watched my dad on the sidelines coach for about a decade at NC State, and in 1983, his team was able to win the national championship, and it just kind of changed our lives forever. He went on to, leave NC State, become a sports commentator at ESPN and ABC, and 10 years after winning that national championship and cutting down those nets and experiencing, his highest high, his greatest victory, he was diagnosed with terminal cancer and given about a year to live, and he actually went through his chemotherapy and his treatment here at Duke Cancer Center. And so, it's just in the highest of highs and then the lowest of lows. People in this area have supported and loved my family, and we've never left. Once we moved here in 1980, I'm still here, and so it's an honor for me to hear about the legacy that he's left behind, the people that he was able to impact, and the fact that every time I meet someone in the community, they've got a Jimmy V story to share with me. And now through his cancer foundation, we're carrying on and we're spreading his message to people that maybe don't know his story or didn't know anything about him when he was alive.
So let's talk about the Jimmy V Foundation. You have raised how many millions of dollars?
I think we're at about, don't hold me to the dollar, up to a penny, but we're about $310 million we've donated to cancer research across the country. And what's really neat about the V Foundation is every dollar that you give goes directly to research. And that's not, a lot of charities, can't say that. And we're set up with a scientific review committee and obviously a board of directors and fundraisers, and a lot of the people that my dad had asked to be a part of his team before he passed away are still raising money for us. And so I'm really proud of the work that is done there. That has nothing to do with me. I don't work there, so I can't take any of the credit, but it's just phenomenal that when you give a dollar that it's going to research. And we give to all different types of cancer research at cancer centers all across the country. And so we're really proud of that as well, that we just did not just one particular type of research, but we find the brightest and the best ideas that are being researched throughout the country, and that's what we put our efforts and our money toward.
Wonderful. And you are 30 years celebrating the Jimmy V Foundation, is that correct?
Yes, I can't believe it.
No, I honestly, as someone who has lived here for a very, very long time, in some ways it almost seems just like yesterday that was on the news announcing your father's illness. It really does seem like just yesterday. It is hard to believe it is 30 years.
Amazing, yeah.
Amazing,
it really
right?
is. It's 30 years since he gave that ESPY speech that he gave at the inaugural ESPYs, and we're actually working on a documentary right now to talk about just what that speech did and what it set in motion, and that's going to be aired on ESPN before the next ESPY Awards. So it's, just again, we're so honored and so blessed that the words that he left us with of, that don't ever give up spirit is still alive and well.
And you mentioned March Madness, so take a plug. It's the 40th anniversary of his ACC championship, correct?
Oh, yes, and the NCAA championship as well, the 83. So both, we won the ACC tournament that year in 1983 and also the NCAA championship. So, 40 years ago.
So really, a really, really special time. Now, you mentioned your family moved from the north to North Carolina, and we firmly embraced you, and you all have never left. Now, you have 2 children of your own, and you have a high schooler. So tell me a little bit about your boys.
Oh, goodness, yes. I just love this area. I've actually taught middle school for many, many years as well as speaking, and I just am, really involved in their education as well. So my oldest son, Jake, graduated from Wake Forest University. He did not go to NC State. He kind of broke our heart, but that's okay. And now he's moved out of state and is doing wonderfully. My second son, Grant, actually, we found out that he had suffered a stroke when I was pregnant with him, and so we found out early on that he had, many, many developmental delays and all sorts of challenges that he was going to face, and it was very devastating as parents, obviously, facing that. We were told that, he might not walk or talk or be able to really do some of the things that we dreamed of him, achieving. And he is 20 years old now. He goes to high school. He is a complete and utter character. He has a great sense of humor. He walks and talks and exercises, and he has his own little mission that he started about with his trainer and with workouts of just inspiring other people to, just do what they can, no matter what they're facing, to get involved and to be healthy. And so he's amazing. So he's always putting out videos out on social media, and I think he got a little bit of my dad's character because he loves to to speak and do things with organizations, charities such as the Special Olympics in our area, and so just really blessed again that so many people. I talk about team, and that's just, my dad had a team always that led him to victory, and I think that in my life I've always been surrounded by people who have poured themselves into my journey and my boys and my family, and have enabled us to just overcome many challenges.
So let's talk about that. So often I have guests on the show and they say that. They talk about the team, they talk about the village that it takes. And I just heard you say I'm a middle school teacher, so you're just a regular mom. You're like the rest of us. You're a mom. You're managing the house. You're cooking pasta, and you've got 2 boys. But you happen to have a very famous father. But tell us about that village. Tell us about you, Jamie, in a normal day and getting through just being a mom.
Yeah, well, one of my dad's favorite statements that he used to say that he heard when he was growing up at a basketball camp one time was that, God must have loved ordinary people because he made so many of us, and yet every day in every walk of life, ordinary people accomplish the extraordinary. And that stuck with me because my dad was just an ordinary person, but he accomplished extraordinary things in his life. And what I learned by watching him is, as a basketball coach or as a cancer fundraiser, no matter what he was doing in his life, he was always surrounded by other people. And he would ask those people to pour their gifts into his vision. If he had a vision for winning the national championship, his players had to, give of their gifts and talents in order for that to be accomplished. And then I watched him later in life when he faced cancer to assemble doctors and friends and family members, and he once again said, will you help me start this organization to raise money? And 30 years later, some of those people are still doing that. And so what I learned early on is really nothing great can be accomplished without the help of other people. I mean, we can get by, we can survive by our own strength, but when we want to do something, above and beyond, something extraordinary, that ultimate vision, those cutting down the nets moments, like I really remember my dad cutting down the nets, and I always think about that as those great things. Is we really need help from other people. And so I've faced, lots of challenges and hardships and tragedies in my life, whether it's losing a parent or dealing with an illness or a child with special needs. And so what I've learned is that when we're hurting and when we're in pain, we often isolate, and we don't want to bother other people and ask for help. We don't want to admit that we don't have all the answers. And so oftentimes that leads to just, making it harder for us and becoming depressed and isolated and alone. And so I pushed myself to do the opposite. And in the darkest times, I reach out and I ask for help. And, people never say no. They're so honored when you ask them, will you help me? So I have a team for every single area of my life, whether it's raising children or, helping me to be a teacher. I have mentors and people, or being a motivational speaker. Whenever I'm trying to accomplish something that I know is greater than what I can do alone, I reach out to someone and ask for help. And that's really, how I get through each and every day. I can look back when I put my head on the pillow, and I always look back at the day and say, wow, if it wasn't for that person, I don't know that I would have gotten through that situation or got through that day. And so, I just encourage anyone that might be facing a hard time right now to recognize that, it's not a time to be alone with your thoughts and your feelings and emotions, but it's time to reach out and to ask someone else to lend you a hand. And when that happens, everything turns around. Everything in your life just seems more possible and more filled with hope. And so I'm just so thankful for the people that I have on my team and those individuals that just refuse to let me give up.
And I just want to reiterate, the show is about low cost and free resources to accelerate you. And you just gave a wonderful example of really, maybe pride, but you're saying network, get a mentor, ask for help. Those are all things that, in essence, are free things to do. Like I said, it just takes a little bit of our pride maybe sometimes to ask, but you're saying that's what it takes to really get to that next level.
Absolutely. And I think that when you allow other people to pour, into you, what I find is that, then you have that strength and the energy then to do that for someone else. So at the same time that we're asking for help, we also become servant leaders in that we help other people along their journey. And so, you're not just taking, but you're also going to turn around and then give and share your experiences. And those are some of the most powerful messages that that I've ever heard of people who, might have been at their lowest point or at rock bottom, and they reached out for a lifeline and somebody helped them, and then, years down the road they were able to do that for someone else. And so that inspires me. I say it again, I can't say it enough, is nothing great can be accomplished on your own, and would you want to even? Because if you were celebrating and you were all by yourself after doing something incredible, it's not as meaningful as when you've got that team around you to celebrate with and say, we did it together, and I couldn't have done it without you. And so those are the most precious moments in my life.
A wonderful perspective. Now, I know that when you come to the Women's Conference on March 30th, you will be telling us, we're going to do more of a deep dive into who Jamie Valvano is and your story, but I don't want to give it all away today, but I do want to talk about a little bit about the Jimmy V Foundation and cancer research in general. Over the past 30 years, you and I talked a little bit about this. So many cancers are preventable. So many cancers now have early, like the BRCA1 and the BRCA2. Why do you think that people are still so hesitant on going and getting tested?
Oh, wow. It's a loaded question. I think that nobody wants to face the disease, cancer. I mean, that's not something we even want to think about. And so even myself, after dealing with my dad's death, I just wanted to turn the page on that, horrific time in my life and just pretend like nothing else was, horrible was going to happen to me. And so I think a lot of times we just avoid that situation altogether, and we just have to find good physicians and share our medical history with them and trust that they're going to suggest the tests that need to be done. And then we need to follow through and actually do them, because as you said, there's so many life-saving, tests that can be done that can give us some indications of risks that we might have due to history, family history, as well as just, situational things that we've been through. And so, I just encourage people to have that conversation with their physician and open that up early, that dialogue, so that kind of what you can do to prevent some of these things, and just look at it as a way, it's another thing, and to take care of yourself, rather than, I think people just get overwhelmed with the idea of even thinking about cancer, especially if you've dealt with it in your family and you've seen someone struggle and go through that disease. It can be emotional, it can be overwhelming, and we just want to avoid it altogether.
Understood. But Jamie, in our last few minutes here, just some fun questions. How tall are you?
I am about 5'9".
What?
On a good day.
So you don't play basketball?
It's so funny because I have two sisters, one older and one younger, and my mom are all very petite. They're all, about 5 feet, 5'1", 5'2", 5'3". There's
the
tiny
little
people.
Women, yes.
And then I'm 5'9", but I have no athletic ability at all. And they look at me like, what a waste, because I'm not athletic in the least. And wherever I go, people are very disappointed to learn that not only can I not play basketball, but I don't really know a lot about what's going on right now. They're like, wait a minute, aren't you supposed to carry on as like a senior? But I reminded them that even though my dad was a coach, he actually was a baseball player and a football player. So he just liked sports in general. He loved anything that had a ball.
So he was very much the athlete. Well, we'll let you pass on that one. Well, Jamie, it has been a pleasure talking to you today. And I just want to recap, for people to learn more about you, more about your journey, they just need to head on down to the Rocky Mount Event Center on March 30th, 8 a.m. to 1. Tickets can be purchased through the Rocky Mount Area Chamber of Commerce. Then there will be a meet and greet from 1 to 3 for those folks who have purchased a ticket. And I know you've got a whole lot more to tell on your story. I'm just not allowed to tell it today. So thank you for coming on over to the WHIG TV studios today, Jamie.
Thank you so much. I can't wait to see everybody at the end of the month.
Very good. See you in a few weeks.
Thank you.
Bye-bye.